Warning NSFW. I am fairly new to Reddit, so apologies for any mistakes. I would also like to preface this by begging you to not make any lewd comments about my daughter. They would be wholly unhelpful and very upsetting to me. Background: husband and I happily married for 21 odd years. He was raised Christian, I was not. We have 3 wonderful children, R, M and L. I would say we haven't had too many issues, apart from R being diagnosed with minor depressive disorder and L being diagnosed with stage 3 autism. This had an impact on our family dynamic and marriage obviously, but we've worked through it over the years. M also has an odd condition where she falls asleep incredibly easily. This has led to fairly minor issues such as falling asleep in class, on public transport and other such places. We have visited a few specialists about this, but it really doesn't seem to be anything of concern. We as a family visited therapy for a few months as a trial, but it really just didn't work at all. R was very opposed and stayed defensive for most of it, and my husband and I already talk outside of therapy, so there wasn't much hidden or to talk about. So 2 days ago my husband, L and I went shopping for a few hours. R was studying at a local library, so M was home alone. When we came back, M wasn't in her room and the bathroom door was closed. After a few minutes of knocking on the door and calling out, I got a bit anxious and called out, "We're coming in, M." My husband then opened the door to see M lying in the bathtub fast asleep, phone in her hand, no pants on. Her place was angled close to the faucet and was wet, so it was fairly clear that something had happened. I walked in to check she was okay, breathing, etc. After all, maybe she was just practicing good vaginal hygiene. I decided to leave her there and I grabbed her phone to go plug it in, but to my surprise it was on. It had a pornographic video paused on the screen. I was fully blindsided by this, as was my husband, who had seen all of it. He got this odd expression on her face, marched past me and slapped her across the face. I immediately cried out and pushed him away from her, but M woke up and started crying. I felt awful, so I pulled him out of the room and left her there to collect herself, but I had a feeling it was too late. Now my husband is absolutely fuming at M. I have never seen him like this before. He says he's angry about a few things which I don't quite understand. 1. Beep. He believes it's a sin and is absolutely disgusted that she did it in the first place. 2. Where she learned it from, apparently. He is now 100% convinced she has or has had a boyfriend that have taught her to do this. He even implied that perhaps she was in contact online with older men who had groomed her into it. 3. The bathtub. He is so incensed that she was in the bathtub, a place we all use. I agree a little on this, but just that it's quite frankly a bit icky of her to do it in our family bathtub when we're out. I don't think it's an egregious sin of her to do it there, it's just a bit blah. 4. The water bill. He firmly believes that M has done this before, and is now losing his mind over the fact that she must have spent a lot of water on this. I understand this, but I think it's sort of the least important issue at hand. I fully sat him down and talked it through with him to explain that beep is a natural thing and that she has a right to her body, but he's still incredibly upset about point 2. I think I've talked him down a bit, but he is still absolutely enraged at her actions, and I don't know what to do or say. Meanwhile, M has been absolutely distraught. I've tried talking to her on multiple occasions, but she hasn't spoken to anyone in the family since the incident. The most recent time was a few hours ago. I sat her down and essentially said, I love her 100%, and I don't really mind what she does with her body as long as she's very careful, and I requested that she stay safe, especially when talking to others. She didn't say a word, just teared up and locked herself in her room again. My husband is taking this as a surefire sign of guilt, and has taken her devices multiple times to see if she has any connections that he could find. All she really has is Discord and Instagram. Her Discord is used very sparsely to communicate about a Minecraft server she's on, and as far as we can tell, her Instagram is only used for liking pictures. This has further convinced my husband that she has a second account somewhere. I don't know what to say to that because whilst that is a large possibility, there isn't much to prove there. R doesn't know the details of what's going on, but I can assume that she's guessed by now, and L has absolutely no concept of what's going on. This is so incredibly out of character from the both of them that I just truly don't know what to do. I feel like a failure of a mother. Therapy didn't work before, so I have no reason to believe that it'll work now, especially with M being so unreceptive. Understand, this is the first incident my husband has ever acted like this throughout our entire marriage. What do I do? What do I say to the both of them to keep my family together? AITA for taking back my nephew's Christmas present and giving it to my son. My sister and I have always had a strained relationship. I usually just let things go and try to keep the peace. We both have sons who are around the same age. My nephew is 13 and my son just turned 11. For my son's birthday, I bought him the new gaming system he has been wanting. He was absolutely thrilled and he plays nonstop. My sister is bad with money. I usually have to lend her money for bills and stuff for my nephew. I know my nephew doesn't always get the best Christmas gifts, so this year I went a little crazy, and I purchased the same gaming system for him for Christmas. I already had it ready and wrapped under my tree. Yesterday my sister's family came to visit. My son asked me if they could go play video games. I said yes and reminded them to be careful. About 30 minutes later my son comes running to me crying. I asked him what was wrong and he led me to the front hall. When we get to the stairs, I see the new system smashed on the floor. Someone had thrown it from the upstairs and it was now smashed to pieces. I asked my son what happened and he sobbed and pointed at his cousin. I asked my nephew if he did this and he started to laugh. He said that it was a Beep baby toy and that he saw people break them online. My sister came in and I told her what happened. I explained that this was an expensive system and that her son needs to be disciplined for what he did. I told her I wanted her to pay for what her son broke. She laughed and said no. She says I shouldn't have let them play unsupervised. That it was my fault and that I am a bad parent. She said my son will get over it and that it was not important. Seeing my son sitting on the ground next to his broken system trying to put the pieces back together tore my heart out. I walked over to the Christmas tree and grabbed the system that was meant for my nephew. I pulled the gift wrap off and it gave it to son and told him to go upstairs and set it up. My sister asked me why I was making such a big deal when I had another one already. I then laughed and told her that was her son's Christmas gift. That since it wasn't important and it was just a Beep baby toy, then they obviously won't miss it. I then told them to leave. My nephew realized what happened and began to cry that my son had stole his system. I said no, his was the one that he smashed. My sister was livid and told me that I will never see them again. I just said okay and slammed the door. Their family members have now been calling me nonstop and saying I am in Beep and that I ruined my nephew's Christmas. I don't think so though. My nephew is 13. He is not a Beep kid and he knew what he was doing. I don't care that it was over jealousy, he is old enough to know better. My sister was not going to make the situation right, so I just did what I had to do. They all think I should buy another new system for him, but I don't have that kind of money. I'm starting to feel bad about this and I am wondering AITA. My boyfriend 22 male spiked my 21 female drink the other night. I'm full aware that I might be overreacting a little, but some outside opinions would help ease my mind either way. So my boyfriend /22 male / and I /21 female / have been together for about 2 years now and currently share an apartment in our college town. I don't drink. I don't have a reason or anything, just never acquired a taste for alcohol. I'll take a sip of my boyfriend or a friend's drink just to try it every now and again, but I usually don't like it. I go to bars with friends and hang out with them all the time, and I'll usually just have a soda or a water and offer to drive if need be. My boyfriend was a little stressed the other day since he had to work during Black Friday, so he was tired when he came home. We were watching something on Netflix when he gets up and says he's going to make himself a drink. I offered to do it for him, but he just said no, don't worry about it, I'll bring you a water. So he comes back with his drink and a flavored water for me, and when I sipped it, something tasted off about it. I only took a few more sips of it before I just put it on the coffee table and ignored it. He asked me why I wasn't drinking it, which was kind of a strange question to me. I told him it tasted a little off and maybe I bought a bad case or something. He immediately seems to get frustrated and tells me to just drink it so it doesn't go to waste. Push came to shove and turns out he put Beep in my water. When I asked him why he would do that without telling me, he said that it was a fantasy of his to have drunken Beep with me, and it was getting ridiculous that I wouldn't get Beep so we could do that. He has never communicated this to me before. I had no idea. I dumped my drink out into the sink, and then he was angry at me for wasting alcohol. Now I'm scared. He put something in my drink without my knowledge and that scared me. I'm not sure what to do now. And #X200B. Edit, I'm realizing now that I am in fact underreacting. You guys are alright, I can't seem to stop thinking about this a few days after the fact, so that must mean something. I'm currently packing a bag before I head off to class in about an hour. I called a friend of mine and she's gonna meet me on campus after my class, and I'm gonna stay with her until I can figure out where I'm staying for the remainder of the semester. Thank you all for knocking some proper insight into me, I seriously appreciate it. Edit again, got out of class currently with a trusted friend and heading over to her place. I tried calling my boyfriend with no answer, I'll handle that later. But I'm feeling pretty apathetic about the whole situation right now. Though I'll admit that my friend got a good laugh out of me by saying you look like you need a Beep drink. Beep LAST edit, Beep it's the next day and I'm logging in to find over 800 more comments and over 20 DMs. First of all the DMs have been super kind and I appreciate every single one of them. Seriously, thank you. Second of all, the comments here started to get a little controversial as to whether it was smart of me to leave or not. I mean, what's done is done, so it doesn't really matter now. Some people might disagree, but to me, a 2-year relationship is not very long, so I was no longer concerned about destroying a 2-year relationship. My friend and I went back to that apartment later last night because I decided I did want to talk to my boyfriend in person instead of over the phone. I know some people might not agree with me doing this, but again, what's done is done. I expressed why I left, I expressed that he lost my trust. My friend had no influence on this conversation, she remained silent the whole time. This is when he finally apologized. He followed it up by saying if you just have a drink like a normal adult, but he immediately took it back and apologized again. My name is not on the lease for the apartment, so I took the rest of my things, let him keep anything that was in the kitchen, and my friend and I left. There was no yelling, no harsh arguments, nothing. Just a clean cut off. I'll go back home to my parents this weekend to explain everything, and then I'll figure out where to live for the remainder of the school year. Thank you guys for giving me advice, and while I didn't respond to all of you, know that I do appreciate every opinion that was given here. As far as the status of whether this act will be reported or not, I have chosen not to share with the internet.